Welcome to the Third Time podcast, the place where football doesn't end at the final whistle. This is Alyssa with you, and today we discuss Isak outshines Chelsea's star-studded lineup in the Carabao Cup upset, and have special guest Mark to break down all the details. Buckle up, it's a hot third half ahead.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready for some tactical analysis. Let's do it.
Well, today we're dissecting Newcastle's Carabao Cup victory over Chelsea. We've got our match reports ready to break down. And trust me, this one is full of surprises.
Yeah, this wasn't your typical cup match. Plenty to unpack here.
Right, so first off, just how unexpected was this win for Newcastle, especially considering their Premier League form lately?
I mean, let's be honest. Not many people had them down to beat Chelsea. It's a massive boost for the team and for the fans, for sure.
Huge. And maybe, just maybe, a sign of things to come.
Potentially. But we need to look at the details, right? Not just the scoreline.
Exactly. So let's talk tactics. One thing that jumps out is the contrast in team selection. Eddie Howe barely changed his Newcastle lineup, while Chelsea's Enzo Maresca went with a completely different 11. What do you make of that?
Well, you could see it as a sign of different priorities.
How so?
Well, for Howe, fielding a strong lineup suggests he's taking the Carabao Cup seriously. It's a chance for silverware.
Makes sense.
For Maresca, maybe it was about resting players for other competitions or giving some fringe players a chance.
Yeah, a chance to see what they can do.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's rewind to the match itself. Newcastle had an early chance with Joel and Tyme, but it didn't quite come off. Did that misset the tone for them, or did they already have a plan in place?
I think Newcastle came in with a clear strategy. Suffocating, high-energy pressing.
Yeah, you could see it from the first whistle.
They were all over Chelsea, forcing mistakes high up the pitch. And even after that early miss, they didn't let up.
And that pressure led directly to Oleksandr Isak's opening goal, right?
Absolutely. It wasn't just running around like crazy, though.
Oh, there was definitely a method to the madness.
Right. It was targeted, calculated pressing. They cut off Chelsea's passing lanes, forcing those rushed decisions, and Isak, with his pace and composure, made them pay.
So it wasn't just about winning the ball back. It was about where they won it back.
Exactly. Turning defense into attack in an instant. High up the pitch, creating those immediate scoring chances.
Okay, so 1-0 up, and then comes Joe Willock's header. That really seemed to put Chelsea on the back foot.
It did, and a lot of credit goes to Newcastle's midfield for that. They were winning second balls, disrupting Chelsea's rhythm.
And they were so quick on the counterattack.
Right. Willock's goal was a perfect example of that. Clinical finishing in transition.
But Chelsea did have their moments, right?
Yep.
I mean, Nick Pope had to pull off a pretty impressive save to deny João Felix.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it felt like every time Chelsea threatened, they were playing right into Newcastle's hands with their insistence on playing out from the back.
It almost felt like they were inviting the pressure at times.
In a way, yeah. They seemed determined to build from the back no matter what. And against a team like Newcastle who press so effectively, it can be risky.
Remember AFC Wimbledon's approach against Newcastle in the previous round. Much more direct, using those long balls to bypass the press.
Right, and they very nearly pulled off the upset. So the question is, why didn't Chelsea adapt?
Right. Was Maresca too stubborn with his tactics, or was there something else going on?
Well, it's hard to say for sure without being in the dressing room, but it does raise questions about Chelsea's flexibility under Maresca.
Yeah. And it wasn't just that. There was this one heart-stopping moment where Chelsea's keeper, Philip Jurgensen, had to basically dance around Anthony Gordon in his own 6-yard box.
Oh, I remember that. It was a risky pass that almost backfired spectacularly. You could feel the tension in the stadium.
It was a microcosm of Chelsea's struggles that night.
Exactly. They were under pressure from start to finish.
So I've got high-intensity pressing, shaky build-up play, a real tactical battle unfolding, and a whole lot of drama. This match had it all.
And that's what makes football so exciting, isn't it? It's not just about tactics and formations. It's about those moments of individual brilliance, those gut-wrenching near misses, and the ebb and flow of momentum.
We saw it all, didn't we? Nkunku's shot blocked for Chelsea, Longstaff's goal disallowed for Newcastle, even Will Ossola hitting the post.
The margins in football are so fine. Sometimes it comes down to inches, to split-second decisions.
Yes. But before we get too caught up in the drama, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What does this win really mean for Newcastle?
That's the million-dollar question. Is it just a cup run, or is this a sign of a genuine shift in their fortunes?
We've seen flashes of brilliance from them before, But can they translate this tactical discipline, this clinical finishing, into consistent success?
That's the challenge, isn't it? And it's one we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive. We'll dig deeper into the implications of this win for both Newcastle and Chelsea.
And we'll leave you with a final thought-provoking question to ponder. So stay tuned.
So Newcastle fans, I know you're buzzing after that win, but the big question is, can they keep this up? Is this Carabao Cup magic, or are we witnessing a real transformation?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've shown they can beat the big teams, but consistency has been an issue, especially in the league.
Right. But this performance, it had a different feel to it. It wasn't just a fluke. There was real tactical discipline, a clear game plan that they executed to perfection.
Let's talk about that game plan. One thing that really stood out to me was their pressing. It was relentless, suffocating. It felt like Chelsea just couldn't handle it.
Oh, absolutely. Newcastle's pressing was a masterclass. They weren't just running around for the sake of it. It was targeted, organized chaos. And that's what made it so effective. They forced Chelsea into making mistakes time and time again.
They were ruthless in taking advantage of those mistakes, too.
Right. They were clinical going forward, especially in those transition moments, turning defense into attack with lightning speed.
Now, we've talked about Chelsea's struggles with Newcastle's press, specifically their insistence on playing out from the back. Do you think that was a tactical miscalculation by Enzo Maresca, or is that just a fundamental part of how he wants his team to play?
I think it's a bit of both. Playing out from the back can be a great way to control the tempo, dictate the flow of the game, but against a team like Newcastle, who are so aggressive, so good at anticipating passes, it's a high-risk strategy. And on this occasion, it backfired.
It did feel like they were almost inviting the pressure at times.
They were, and Newcastle were more than happy to oblige. They turned that pressure into turnovers, into scoring chances.
We saw time and again that moment of panic in Chelsea's defense, a misplaced pass, and suddenly Newcastle are on the attack. And you know, it's interesting because we saw a very different approach from AFC Wimbledon in the previous round. They went direct, bypassing Newcastle's press with long balls.
Exactly. And it almost worked for them, didn't it?
Right. They really gave Newcastle a run for their money.
So you have to wonder, why didn't Chelsea try something similar? Was it just a case of sticking to their principles come hell or high water?
Or was there a little bit of arrogance, a belief that they could outplay Newcastle no matter what?
It's hard to know for sure. But it certainly raises questions about Chelsea's tactical flexibility, their ability to adapt to different opponents.
And it wasn't just about tactics, was it? There was a real mental edge to Newcastle that night. A hunger, a determination that we haven't always seen from them.
I think that's a key point. They were first to every loose ball. They were winning those 50-50 challenges. They were throwing their bodies on the line. And that kind of commitment can be infectious. It can lift the whole team, the whole stadium.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, where does Chelsea go from here? Can they bounce back from this defeat, or has it exposed some deeper cracks in their foundation?
That's what we'll be looking at as the season unfolds. Can Maresca adjust his tactics, make his team more adaptable, more resilient? Can they regain that swagger, that confidence that seemed to be missing against Newcastle?
So for you listening in, keep an eye on both of these teams. Pay attention to those little details, those tactical tweaks, those moments of individual brilliance that can make all the difference.
Because this Carabao Cup clash, it was more than just a game of football. It was a glimpse into the future, a sign of things to come. And it's up to us to decipher the clues, to piece together the puzzle. So we've analyzed the tactics, we've dissected the drama, but I think the real question is, what happens next?
Right. Where do these two teams go from here? I mean, is this a turning point for Newcastle? Can they use this Carabao Cup win as a springboard for success in the Premier League?
That's what everyone's wondering. Can they maintain this level of intensity, this tactical discipline week in and week out? That's the challenge.
And for Chelsea, it's a bit of a reality check, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they were clearly outplayed. Their weaknesses were exposed. Now it's about how they respond.
Exactly. Does Enzo Maresca stick to his guns?
Yeah.
Double down on his philosophy? Or does he adapt? Tweak his approach?
It's a tough call. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But at the same time, you need to be willing to learn from your mistakes.
And that's what makes this so fascinating. It's not just about one match. It's about the bigger picture. It's about two teams at a crossroads.
Right. And it's not just about Newcastle and Chelsea either. It's about the Premier League as a whole. The balance of power, the tactical trends, the narratives that are constantly being written and rewritten.
And for you listening in, that's the beauty of it. It's a never-ending story. There's always something new to discover, something to analyze, something to debate.
So keep your eyes peeled, pay attention to the details, look beyond the scorelines.
Because in football, anything is possible. And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep analyzing, and keep the love of the game alive.